Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you have had an amazing week. For those of you who tune in every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, welcome back. We are here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. For those of you who tune in every single week, welcome back. And for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, welcome. Let me know where you are tuning in from here in the chat. Today, I'm in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, where I reside, and just getting back from West Virginia, actually yesterday. But I'm happy to. Well, I was gonna say warmer weather, but it's storming a bit here, just like other parts of the country. So here we are, right, with the weather. But nonetheless, I hope you had a great week. For those of you who are tuning in on the replay on Dr. Nikisha Hammond YouTube, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. And hi from Louisiana, welcome. Memphis, Tennessee's in the house. Delaware, Florida, welcome. I'm really glad I could see your comments today from LinkedIn here. I don't know. Sometimes there's some technical issues, and last week I could not see the comments for some reason. But I know you all are amazing, especially on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere you tune in. So it's great to see you guys' comments today. But Bismarck, North Dakota is in the house. Welcome. I've actually been there before. It was very cold in North Dakota, but nonetheless, Augusta, Georgia's in the house. Dallas, New York City, Orlando. Welcome, and thanks again so much for joining here. Westchester, New York, Georgia with an exclamation point is in the house. DC with a sad face. I don't know what that means, but again, welcome, and thanks so much for joining here. Whether you're new, whether you're always coming on to a mental health moment to learn about ways for you to become the best version of who you are. That's what mental health moment is all about. So you can show up for yourself and show up for those around you. Because again, I'm hoping we've talked at length, I think, the last couple of weeks here on Mental Health Moment about shifting into this new year. Here we are, right? But getting ready, getting prepared. I know at a lot of times at the beginning of the year, we have this new me, new year, new me philosophy, which is great to have. But then sometimes as we get into the year, life starts to happen, our goals or resolutions and all those sorts of things, we tend to forget about them. So hopefully that's not going to be the case for you though, especially when it comes to your self-care. So, and thanks for those who are still starting to join here. Thank you so much. I'm glad you tuned in. Buford, Georgia is in the house. Maryland's in the house. Fort Myers, Florida, Brooklyn, New York's here. But again, thanks so much for joining here. So on today's mental health moment, I wanted to remind you of something actually, because I was reading this book and it was so fascinating to me. Of course, as a psychologist, learning things about mindset is always fascinating to me. But it was even more fascinating to learn about, and some of you may know this already, but to learn about the waves that your brain makes. So of course your brain, all of our brains have different levels of brain waves, but it was saying that depending on what mood you're in. So if you're in a state where you are stressed out, you're overwhelmed, you're worried about everything, you're anxious, you're depressed, like all those sorts of really almost heightened states sometimes, this fight or flight mode, like when we're mentally in those states, shockingly, but as a reminder, it's really hard for us to be creative. It's really hard for us to get questions that we have for ourselves answered, to get that clarity. It's really hard to work on your sense of self. It's just really hard to be in that mental state. But even if you're not like way into depression, anxiety, overwhelmed in that mode, still, if you're, sort of looking around and like wondering what's going to happen next and just being more nervous about certain things, your brain waves actually are in a different state, very different state of when you are relaxed, when you're in a state of not necessarily meditation. That's a very deep state that your brain goes into, but like just the quiet time, like I talk, for those of you who are not new to mental health moment, I share often about taking a minute, you all, 60 seconds a day. This is how I started on my journey, my personal journey of self-care. But when you get into those quiet states of mind, or hopefully if you have time for meditation and those type of states, what it does to your brain. That's what I was reading in this book. What it does to your brain and your brain waves, like, just allows you to have more joy, have more abundance, to have more clarity, like all these things when we really just slow down. Like, there's scientific proof, you all, right? So it's not just things that, it was funny reading it because I was just loving to learn more about it. But like, just as a reminder, this is physiologically, when we get into these calmer states, how we help ourselves, and not just physically. I mean, yes, if you're in a calmer physical state, it can help you. I'm not saying it's curing anything, you all. Nobody said we're curing anything today, but it can help you to lower your blood pressure. It can help you, sometimes it's good, right, to lower your heart rate so you're not just constantly so nervous and overwhelmed. It can definitely help on the physical health side, but also the mental health side, you all, which is really important, which we talk about every single week, a mental health moment. So this is your reminder today to really think about how can you get into more calm states. Now, it is unrealistic. Well, I don't say it's unrealistic. It is highly unlikely that you will be spending all day and all night in a calm state. Like, that is unrealistic. So of course, I'm not advocating for that, unless that, yes, there are certain people that live in that state. Most people, though, we have things that come up. We get overwhelmed. We have stuff with our family, with our friends, with our work, or with school, or whomever. Stuff happens. We're stressed out. That's normal. But how can you, again, think about getting back into that state of being, right? Very important. And thanks for those who are still starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Dallas is in the house today. Welcome, welcome. Ladson, South Carolina is here. Queens, New York, Chicago, Illinois. Welcome, welcome, and thanks so much for joining here. So, what I want to ask you today on today's mental health moment is, do you feel, and be honest, right? And just put in the chat, yes or no, and be honest with yourself. But do you realistically think that you could make a commitment this year? So we're in the right in the first month of the year, right? Can you make a commitment this year to yourself to work on, and this is going to look different depending on who you are, but to work on getting into more calmer states of mind more frequently? So that's question number one. So yes in the chat if you're like, yes, I can make this commitment. No, if you're like, Dr. Hammond, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not trying to do this year. I'm not trying to get into any states of peace of mind or calm. So put it in the chat if you're like, yes, I can make that commitment, because that's step one. I can make that commitment to work on getting into calmer states of mind. Yes, I see some yeses. I can. I love it. Lots of yeses. I love to see it. Someone said absolutely. Yes, 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 yes with an exclamation point. Los Angeles, California is in the house. Welcome, welcome. So lots of yeses. Wonderful. I love to see it. So many yeses. So that's a great thing. Okay. Because step one, you all, is it's making the commitment to start this process. I am literally telling you things that are, I try to share everything that I'm learning, because I'm learning too, right along with you all, scientifically. Like, literally, there's plenty of things that can measure brain waves. They measured people that meditate. I think what I read was there's a person meditate like 6,000 hours or something ridiculous. A really like in tune person that meditates, and just how beneficial that can be. And again, I'm not saying for you to spend 6,000 hours meditating unless you want to. But there's plenty of scientific studies, but I'm also sharing my own personal journey with you on mental health moment, y'all, because I used to be horrible at self-care. Yes, I'll admit it. I'm transparently telling you, horrible with the self-care, like running yourself ragged, doing 1,200 things. I still do 1,200 things, but doing 1,200 things without the self-care in place is not a good mental or physical or emotional or spiritual place to be. But first, which many of you said yes, someone said yes for sure in the comments, the first thing you have to think about, again, I'm telling you this because we're starting out the new year here, right? Is you make the commitment. You say, okay, I'm going to work on this year. One of the things I'm going to work on, you can have many of your other goals, but one of the things I'm going to work on is trying to get more into calmer states of being. That's step one. You make the commitment. The second thing, yep, someone already started writing in there. The second thing is, and you can put in the comments, What is one thing? And it doesn't mean it has to be the only thing for you. Okay. Like there's 300 things I could tell you. I'm not going to tell you 300 things today, but there's a lot of things I can tell you of how you can get into the calmer state. But one thing you can put in the chat, what's one thing you think, man, this year, let me try to do more of this, fill in the blank, to get into my calmer state of mind. It doesn't have to be something that takes 3 hours, you all. Like, hopefully not. Like there's plenty of things that you can do to get into calmer states of being. So let me know in the chat. Someone said already before I asked, I think you know I was going to ask it, right? I use the inhale/exhale method. Beautiful. Even today, which was so interesting. I'm always learning. I'm always working on learning new things. I mean, for myself, of course, to be better in different areas of my life, but also I like to learn new things so I can share it with you all as well. Someone said consistent gym time. So speaking of gym time, so today when I was in the gym, I had one of my coaches. So I take these group classes. I had one of my coaches that was explaining how to lower your heart rate because, well, we had done some cardio work. Our heart rates were very high and how to quickly lower it. And I'm not, please seek the advice of a physician before trying this. I'm not trying to tell you anything medical that, all of us have different physical bodies and all the things. But what was interesting today was when he was explaining to inhale slowly and exhale out, like there was a certain way he said to do it. And it was funny because I had on my Apple Watch and I was looking, I was like, man, this is really working. And it was really working on lowering our heart rate because we had only a certain time of rest time for the exercise we did today. And then we had to go right back into another part of the exercise. So he was teaching us how to really do the inhale, exhale, and work on lowering our heart rate safely, but also quickly because we had to go back into doing more cardio. So that's just an example, right, of something that it got us. I mean, this is on the physical side, but into a calmer state of mind, and also it lowered our heart rate in that instance because we had raised our heart rate so high with our workout, right? But for you, again, putting in the comments here, but for you, what is it for you that you can say, man, this is something I can do to get to a calmer state of mind? So for me, some of you all already know it. If you've tuned into Mental Health Moment, I like to spend time in nature, like watching sunrises, sunsets, mostly sunsets because I'm not really a morning person, but if I'm on an early plane ride and I'm watching a sunrise because I happen to be up super early, that would be an example, or just being out in nature. So I travel often for different work engagements and being around mountains, being around beaches, just the nature that is naturally around us, being there. My tea time is very important to you all. So I am a tea drinker. I like to just embrace having a simple cup of tea sometimes. Like that's a very calming thing for me. But again, put in the comments for yourself, what is it that you can say, man, let me try to spend more time in this area because it's really important. Number one, which many of you said yes to, is making the commitment. And number two, just having an idea of one thing, and it could be more than one thing, like I said, but just one thing that you're like, okay, this year, let me try to add that more into my life, and not something, again, unless you want to, but not necessarily something that takes like 3 hours. Nothing wrong with the 3-hour things, but it's pretty unrealistic to be like, man, every day I'm gonna spend an extra 3 to 5 hours doing XYZ. Like, pretty unrealistic for most people, depending on how much time you have. But someone said they're gonna be, yep, I read that earlier. Consistent with gym time, beautiful. Someone said I'd like to get back into meditation. Wonderful thing. That's actually on my list this year too, to add in more meditation time. Stay away from some people. Wonderful. Setting boundaries, which we had a whole mental health moment about that, how important it is to set your boundaries. You all of us have a different comfort level. All of us have a different emotional, mental, physical, spiritual needs. All of us have different goals, but setting up your boundaries appropriately for what works for you to best thrive, very important. Someone said I use weightlifting. I love it. So do I. Love it. Love it. Read my Bible. Fantastic. Meditate, pause and be still momentarily. Super important. And again, what was fascinating, I'm going to read what I read again and that book and try to well, anyways, it's a little it's very detailed. So it goes into like different types of brain waves. So maybe I won't because it's pretty heavy and technical. The most important thing to remember, I was gonna say I was gonna share some of it with you, but it's just a lot. Like this level of meditation has you at this brain wavelength, and then being like say in quiet time, being calm. If you're stressed out, like it goes through all the different. If you're sleeping, like your our our brain waves are changing. But what's interesting, this person that said pause and be still momentarily, a lot of us don't get a chance to do that. We're just, and I believe me, I know that life because I used to have it, not now by choice, but just the constantly going and never slowing down, never stopping, never being still, never smelling the roses, right? As they say, and it takes a toll on you. It takes a physical and mental and emotional and spiritual toll on you when you do that and you don't get into any stillness time. So I love that person that said that. I hope that for many of you that you do take the time to pause and be still, even if it's for 60 seconds a day as a start. Someone said proper breathing techniques, so important. You all, I mean, there's so many things you can do. The deep breathing is the most one of the most powerful things and the most underrated thing. It costs you $0 for you to be still wherever you're at, in your house, at school, work, wherever you're at, just to be still and take deep breaths. It literally costs no money, and it's so powerful and it's so cleansing and it can be so beneficial to you. So man, if you can incorporate that, that's also something, well, long time back, I definitely had to start incorporating to get on the right track of self care. Someone said me time. I love it. Someone said yoga. Fantastic. 5 4 3 2 1 method. I love it. We actually went over that. Man, it was, I don't know, some months ago, but it was in 2023. We went over that method in detail. So if you haven't heard of it either, check that out on YouTube, or you can even Google it, 5 4 3 2 1 method. But we went in detail about that, but it's great method. Someone said organization with my day-to-day tasks in my business. I love it. I love it being clear. It sounds like clarity, which is wonderful. Positive visualizations to relax and stop being hard on myself. Ooh, we did a whole mental health moment on that too, about self-love. When it comes to negative thinking, you all, every single one of us have it on the planet. We have it. We What we do with those negative thoughts, though, is really individualized, because some of you hopefully have learned over time, like, man, I'm really hard on myself. I really having so many negative thoughts about who I am. Most of the time, the things that we think are not necessarily even true, but you've realized that, recognized that, and work to change that. For some of you, you're in a place like maybe this person said, like, I'm just still too hard on myself. It's not, I don't ever want you to think there's a right or wrong with, like, you are who you are, but also work towards being better. That's what you can do. Like it honestly doesn't help to beat yourself up mentally about being too hard on yourself. Like it literally defeats the whole point, right? Like blaming yourself for being too hard on yourself. Like it doesn't, it's a vicious cycle. And but it's not something overnight, but it's absolutely something that can be worked through. It absolutely is something that can be changed. Sometimes you can do it on your own. Sometimes you need the help of a mental health professional. Either way, it's all good. Just work towards, right, being better. Someone said, I received a pack of self-care idea cards for Christmas and I plan to use them. Yay. I love to hear that. That's fantastic. Someone said, I love nature as well. Beholding it is rejuvenating. Absolutely. Spending more quiet time reading. I love it. Singing and talking to my sister's plants. I love it. We've been going strong. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's such a creative thing to do. But you know what? Again, you all do what works for you. This is what I always want to remind you of. I know, man, I'm blessed to know so many outstanding, incredible, creative, just amazing people. And what I can share with you is that they all do really different things for self care. They do a lot of different things to get into calmer states. I have a colleague slash mentee of mine who loves to climb mountains. which is amazing. Like she's climbed some really high mountains. Like that's an amazing thing to do. Most people don't want to do that, right? To get into their calm state, and you don't have to. But I think it's an amazing thing to do. I'm not a mountain climber per se, but I think it's an amazing thing to do. But I don't necessarily have to do right what this next person is doing. But my point is, it doesn't matter what your neighbor's doing, your brother, sister, mother, whomever else is doing. For you, you have to do what works for you, what is best for you, what you know will get you into this calmer state. Someone said they're going to continue their vegan lifestyle. I love it. That's, again, a whole nother mental health moment about nutrition. Very important. Begin my day in peace with prayer. We talked about that, the morning routine. That's lovely. Journaling, crafting, gardening. Someone said journaling and reading. Someone said leaving toxic people alone and mastering my space. Fantastic, wonderful. Someone said I've learned to take a pause, and which is if you're in that boat, I feel like there's two types of people in the world. If you're in that boat where like, man, it is so hard for me to take a pause. If you say it's hard for me to take a pause, it's hard for me to relax. My brain is always going. It feels like I feel like that's one category of people, and then the other side, you may be like, man, I'm good at taking the pauses. I'm just always relaxed. But what I need is to be more productive or not always stay in that state where I can't get things done. Like there's really two, right? Two types of people, and people, of course, a little bit in between. But nonetheless, no, again, no matter where you're at, because mental health moment is a non-judgmental space. We're not here to be judging one another. We're not here to hopefully blame ourselves. We can get out of the self-blame game. But again, knowing, like that person said, I've learned to take a pause, knowing what you need, which is last mental health moment for those of you who missed it. The replay is on YouTube. But again, very important for you to think about what do you need and putting those things into place. Someone said saying no when I need to. Yes. No. What's so fascinating is I've talked to thousands of people actually throughout the world, and just hearing different journeys that people are on. And it's funny when you say that, like, man, we hear so much, especially on social media, especially in the news. It's like I feel like 1 year you're hearing like, make sure you say no, know when to say no to everything. And then the next the next year it's like, no, you need to be saying yes, need to be more productive. So here's the reality. So it's like, which one is it? Right? Do I need to be saying no more, or I need to be saying yes more? Here's the reality. You need to ask yourself, you need to do your best to be in the calmest state that you can be in, calmest state that you can be in, and ask yourself, what do you need at this time? Because it's going to vary. There, there is no there is no perfect answer. The answer is, I hate to be cliche and say the answer is within you, but the answer really is within you and what you need at that time, right? So this might be your year of yes. You're going to say yes to a lot of things. This might be your year of no. And you say, you know what, Dr. Hammond, I need to say no to a lot because I got a lot on my plate. I'm overwhelmed. Let me start saying no. I don't know what that is for you. But you know, if you really take the time to ask yourself and be clear and ask yourself in the way that works best for you. And someone else said, calling my grandbabies. I love that. If that brings you joy and that gets you into a calm state, do that. Again, there's no right or wrong answer, right? Someone said they're here from South Carolina. Welcome, welcome. The name of the YouTube channel, Dr. Nikisha Hammond, is right here on the screen. But Dr. Nikisha Hammond is a YouTube channel. First time joining. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. So we are here we're here every Tuesday, or I'm here every Tuesday. I said we, all of us together, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. If you do miss an episode for any reason, you can always go to Dr. Nikisha Hammond YouTube and check out the replay on there. You're absolutely welcome. And check out the replay on there. But I did want to, again, remind you all of how important it is this year, especially since we're at the beginning of the year. We're having a lot of conversations, hopefully with ourselves. Maybe you're still reflecting from last year, which is okay. It's what is best for you. Some of you are still like, man, I wish I did this, or should have, or could have, or all those sorts of things from last year, which we know that the chapter's closed. Maybe not mentally it's closed, but the year, like the calendar, like the year is over, right? So doing your best to move into mentally also. I mean, the calendar is the calendar. We're on, what are we on? January 9th, right? So the calendar is the calendar. The calendar has moved on for some of us again, and I get it. There's just some things that maybe you're still trying to process from last year or the year before, which is okay. But working on as best as you can, moving into this new year, right? Catching up with the present moment, being as present as you can, and understanding this year, because many of you said yes in the comments that you have made the commitment, not me, I didn't make it for you. You said yes in the comments that you have made the commitment to yourself to try to get more into calmer spaces, calmer states of mind this year. No, it cannot be all day and all night. Probably not. Most people, no. We have lives. The stress comes up. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know, right? There's surprises. There's happy things that happen. There's sad things that happen. Everything in between. But again, to work on how do you get back to that state, that calmer state of mind, because again, there's plenty of scientific research of all the benefits of that, right? And taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, making sure you're making the commitment to you this year. Happy New Year to you as well. Someone says they're going to take some me time, whatever it may be. Gym for me, I love it. Whatever it looks like for you. Greetings from DC. Welcome, welcome. And again, there's please, well, as long as it's healthy, let me put an asterisk on it. There's a lot of things we can do with our me time, but as long as it's healthy for you, as long as it's helping you to thrive, as long as it's moving you forward to be better. We talked sometime last year, on one of the mental health moments about that book, Atomic Habits, which basically promotes the idea of us getting better, like 1% better a day, which is like a little bit better, right? It's a little bit better day. And if we really did that, man, by the end of this year, it would be amazing, right? Like, I mean, profoundly amazing if you really like 1% better a year. So again, just keeping that philosophy, whatever you made the commitment for again this year, not beating yourself up in the process. Think life will life, right? Life will happen, but keeping as positive as you can, getting back on track. If you feel like you're losing track with what you said you would do, just work on getting back on track with it. Someone said, I'm on a journey with my older sister. My sister, brother, and I are still adjusting to life without mom. We're growing stronger every day. Beautiful. And condolences for you and your family. Grief, man, we did a whole mental health moment about that too. But yeah, grief can be really, it can be really hard. That's a whole nother mental health moment, but really tough. A lot of strong emotions with that, especially with especially with losing a parent. So condolences to you. Take care of yourselves. And for any of you all going through that at this time, please take care of yourself. It is especially important during that time that you're doing your best to take care of yourself. Someone said scheduling a day dedicated for just me each week. I love to hear that. Someone said they're reading that book right now. Yeah, it's a great book. I have a ton of other book recommendations, but we'll just talk about that one for today. So scheduling a day dedicated for me just for me each week. I love it. Again, if you're like, man, scheduling a day is too much, I don't have that much time each week. Again, it's all good. You start with what you have. If you have 60 seconds a day, I know I always preach this, but I'm gonna keep preaching this to you all because I know for some of you all, I just know because I just know. Because I'm a psychologist, I've talked to a lot of people and also I've experienced it personally. For some of you, you might still be in the mindset like, I don't have time for the self-care. I don't have time to add anything else. I'm so overwhelmed, like all those sorts of things. But the reality is we make time for what is important to us. And if you're saying what you said earlier, you're making this commitment, then you also have to make the commitment to take the time, which can be as little as 60 seconds a day to start, right? And then once it clicks, once you change into the person that whatever that means to you that you want to be, to become the better version of who you are, then you'll take the time to say, okay, you know what, maybe I deserve more than 60 seconds a day, right? And taking that time, like this person said, oh, I'm taking a whole day every week to myself, which is amazing. But again, you can even start with 60 seconds a day. All right, so I'm going to wrap up here. I went over a little bit on today's mental health moment, but thank you all for your comments. Thank you. And honestly, thank you all for making the commitment for yourself. Like, this isn't for me. Like, you're making this commitment for you, which is amazing. I love to see people win. I always say that. I get so excited watching you all, like just watching the things that you guys are going to do on mental health moment, watching all the things that bring you joy, watching all the things that bring you into a calmer state of mind. I'm so happy to see like every single one of you that answered said, yes, I'm going to make the commitment, which is amazing. So keep doing that. I will be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Black Women Empowered Incorporated, Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. If you need me before that, you can go to drnikishahammond.com. You can also connect on Instagram, Dr.Hammond, or any other social media outlet. Instagram is where I spend most of my time, but I'm also on the other social media outlets as well, trying to just share mental health resources for you, or inspiration, or something I learned, or something of that sort, just again, for all of us as a community to be better, so we can take care of ourselves and take care of those around us. So thank you so much again for joining everyone today. I will be back again, like I said, next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. Have an amazing week. Be sure to add in that time to get into a calmer state of mind this week. And I'll see you all next time.